Alright, in this video I'm going to show you how to replace your alternator on a 2000. This is a 2009. If you do have a 2009, make sure that you have done your oil pump update. This is my engine on my other car. If you have a CBE engine, make sure you do that because it will go out and ruin your engine and your turbo. So if you haven't done it yet, really get on that right now. I mean, don't drive it at all. Definitely just fix it ahead of time. So anyway, 10 and up, I think these are all the same CJAA engine. CBE are all built the same. So here's how you do it. This is the engine out of the car, so it's a little easier to see the bolts. There is one right here, okay, and then there's one down below, down here. So those were the bolts out of the car for the alternator. The alternator is very buried in here. And will require quite a bit of work to get out. So there's two different options, I think, from what I can see. So those both when you take out both of these bolts, it should be loose in there. So first thing we're going to do is disconnect the battery. I was going to take out the positive one because it's easier. Should take off the negative one first, but we're going to violate the rules a little. How about that? Okay, battery disconnected. Next thing, take the belt off. To make this a little bit easier, I'm going to remove the passenger side wheel and the fender well. It makes it a whole lot easier to get the bolts out and the belt. It's just basically for ease of access. You can do it without it, but man, it's going to be a lot more work. Might be easier just to remove it. Right, of course we didn't have in here to remove the belly pan because I already had it off mine. Always had the belly pan on, but I just did a major repair. I put a used engine in. And the used engine had a bad alternator and it had lower miles than mine, so I figured I'm going to put a new one on at this point. So anyway, back to the video. We got 1, 2, 3 screws, 4, 5, and 6, and plus the belly pan off. So I only have about 5 of them, missing one. But anyway, this comes off. I think you can leave the other section in for this repair with no problem. Now you can see the belt tensioner right here. It's very easy to get to. You go ahead and grab that with, I think, a 15 or 16 and get the belt off. It's just spring loaded. Mine, I went ahead and removed both wheels. I'm going to put on stands, do both wheels if you decide to do it the way I'm doing it. Basically at this point, there is basically, I believe, 2 different ways you can do this. One is you can remove the fans. So you have to unplug them on the bottom. There's a plug on the bottom. You pull a little lever, you slide the plug out, and then there's 4 bolts to hold the fan in. 1 here, 2 down there, 3, 4, slide the fans down. Then you have to loosen up the air conditioner, okay? All right, and loosen up the air conditioner to kind of get it to move down a little bit. It's not fun, guys, if you're figuring that out. This tube has to come off. So there's this clamp here. There's next to the air conditioner, there's another bolt down there that holds it in. It's a Torx head, I believe. And then there's another one here for that tube, and the bottom tube has to come off. In fact, I have to do that anyway on mine. So that bottom tube has to come off, and you have to take off the whole. Basically, this whole tube comes out of the way, and then you have to take off this thing, because I believe it's in the way as well. I'm not sure on that one. Maybe not. Somebody else did. So he took this off as well. I don't think you need to, really. I think you can get it out without it. Maybe because you have to bring it up through the hole. Yeah, it's a tight fit. But I'm going to show you another way. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do I don't know exactly which way the factory recommends doing it. I don't have a service manual. But I've gotten notes from people who have had service manuals, and they tell me to do service position, service mode, and I have another video on that. You can search that if you want. But I'm going to probably do service mode, which is basically the whole front of the car comes off. You take off the front bumper, which comes off very quickly and easily. There's these 2 bolts here. I'll be going through this a little bit. I'll do it step by step on it while we're doing this. And you take the bumper off, and you take off this whole section right here, if I can get you guys far enough away. This whole section from here this black part and everything all comes off with 8 bolts in one piece. Okay, and then there's a couple wiring pieces to disconnect, and I believe you could take it out about 6 or 8 inches, set it on a jack, and then pull the alternator out without having to take all that stuff off. Let's see if we can do it that way. I don't know how it's going to work, but I was watching another guy's video and I thought, you know, if you put it in service position, it might be easier, so that you leave the fans in place and you take everything loose and kind of open it up this way, pull the alternator out. And what I'm going to do is take the bolts out first. So let's see if it works. All right, guys, work together with me and we'll find out whether it's going to work. I think I might just move this out of the way. So there's 3 bolts for this, one way down there and one over here. This one down here, you don't have to take it all the way out. You can just loosen it because it's a slotted hole. And then this one you take all the way out, and this one down here you take all the way out. So let's get that out of the way and take a look so I can get my wrench in here to take the top bolt off the starter, off the alternator. Getting the bottom one, I think you can do from either side. You can probably do it from the top or the bottom. But you can see now there's a lot more space in here with that piece off. Even though you could probably do it with it there, it's much easier to have it out. Real quick, let's take a look. We got one. The number 2 is a slotted hole. See how that is? And then number 3 is just another nut that comes off. Just flip it upside down, put it over there. And then now we have access to get to the bolts. So we can do them from the top. It's a little easier. Move some hoses around. Get everything get some access here. So usually what I kind of do is I kind of like to get myself space in here. So I kind of move stuff around a little bit. So let me take this one off. There's one right here. And then we have one, where is the other one? I know there's one right there. I'm going to get that one out. And then there's one down below it, I believe. I saw it, but let me get to it. Yeah, down here. So there's one down here, way down there. And then there's one in that little hole right there. Let's get those off. There's the top bolt, 13mm head. I used a deep socket because it would give me a little more space. Okay, got the lower one out, again 13mm. I used a 1/2 inch or a deep socket to break it loose, and then I had to switch over to a regular socket to take it the rest of the way out, because with my ratchet it kind of bottoms out in there. You'll find out if you do that one. Okay, to get it in service position either way, you have to take this tube out. So you put your screwdriver in here, pry this down till it snaps, both sides, they both snap, and then you can just pull on it. Oh, can't do this with one hand. But anyway, you see what you gotta do? You gotta snap it, here, set, oh, till it snaps, stays in place, it's supposed to stay right there. I'm gonna have to hold it, 2 hands, pull that off. Okay, so now that that's off, if you're gonna do it the other way, you're gonna need to take this bolt off. Okay, and then there's another one in the middle, interim one. It's behind the alternator, very hard to reach. And this clamp on the top, and then this will pull out and slide down from the bottom down to the bottom. I'm gonna try it the other way. Let's see how it goes. Some guys, like I said, they do it this way to pull this out. You can take the alternator out that way. It's a real pain in the ass either way. Okay, so what I did here to get the grill off, you take this one off, 1, 2 Torx, and then 2 Phillips that are in, there they are. You guys can find them pretty easy. They're in the grill, inside the middle of the grill somewhere. Pull this off. I guess I'll show you from this end. Yeah, right. Oh. Yeah, they're right there. Okay, you get through the grill, you get to these 2 screws. Okay, 2 Phillips there, and just give it a yank. After these 2 things are loose, the little clips here, little clips take off loose. Take the grill right out. It comes right out very quickly. As with any job you do in this car, you got to get used to taking the air filter off. Air filter housing, all that's got to come out of there. Well, it's got these horrible little clips that they put the wires on with. You're supposed to pull up on it, push it down, pull up on it, and all this crap. You know what I do is I just take my little hook and I go underneath, just pull up, lift up. I reach it under here and I lift it up. It just eliminates all that hassle. That's the worst design ever. Okay, got to take off. There's a hex or a 6-point down there. We'll get that off. I just leave it in place. Now you can just give this a swift yank, or you can take the top off and do it the harder way. Either way, there's like rubber things that are holding it in. Be careful not to hit your thermostat housing, or you mean your inlet, radiator inlet housing. I've done it many times. Broken these things many times. So pull this thing out. You can buy them other than at the dealer. You can get them aftermarket. Okay, so this whole thing comes out. Now you have access to get to your plugs down here. For service mode, there's 2 plugs on this side. There's also 2 over there on the other side. So there's 2 over here and 2 over here. And then don't forget to take these out. There's also a sensor here, your ambient air sensor, I believe that's what it's called. These ones here are the airbags. So if you get a fault code after you're done, maybe you didn't connect it properly or it's dirty. So they're a little tricky to get off. I can't remember how to get the clips off of those. You gotta flip a little guy and then it slides out of there. Alright, so if you're going to do a partial service mode, you're going to take off this side. This is the airbag, or this is your crash sensor for the airbags. And what it has is, you see this little lever right here? You pull that thing down and then wiggle it around and it'll come off. So this thing's a little bit, it's just like a little lever. I can't even film it down in there, but it's on this side. You just pull that lever down, wiggle it around up and down a little bit, and then it'll come off. That locks it in place, that little black, I think it's black lever, is it? Alright, so that's that. So now, all we need to do now, I think I've got everything, because I'm not going to take that part loose. I'm going to do a partial service mode, so I'm going to put this on the jack, and I'm going to pull the front end out this way. Okay, so normally to do service mode, you take off this clip right here, and the upper radiator hose, the lower radiator hose, you actually evacuate your air conditioning. Yeah, evacuate your air conditioning. Okay, and pull off the lower hose the same way on the other side. This little clip comes out, and you leave the fans on and everything, and all the front end all comes off, all in one piece. So you have both your turbo tubes disconnected, okay, in the front, and you have the lower hose and everything, and the other 2, there's another crash sensor over here, okay, and another one of these big plugs for your headlights over here, and then the whole front end can come off, and then you have access to the front of the car. Now that's what makes these things a lot easier to work on. With them not in service position, they are difficult. They are really difficult anyway to work on, but you know, putting it in service position, I think, is probably the easiest way to do this alternator. Let's find out. All right, so of course do this at your own risk. You do your own research. This is just how I do it. Okay, so you notice that this is on a jack. The only thing really holding this thing in at this point is air conditioning lines. So if you just let it fall, you're probably going to be buying that, you know. So be ready for it if you screw up. Just keep it on the jack. I've got one bolt halfway threaded in, and then I'm going to move this away. Looks like I can do it, except I'm going to need to remove my hood cable. Let's do that. Show you that real quick. This is the hood cable right here. It's tucked in here and it's in these little guys here, but I actually just had this front end off. It was in service mode. In fact, you could probably get it just like that. I'm gonna bet that you could even leave that on and get it like this. Let's try. Like I said, I got one bolt, just a few threads on it, holding it on so that you know, that way in case the air conditioning lines are on this side. If you wanted to take it all out, you could actually take it all the way off if you wanted to, and then recharge the air conditioning, and you know, that's all up to you. I don't know if you can even see, but on the very top in here, let's try and see if we can get it to right there. You can see that is a plug. So there's one plug, and then there's the 13mm right here. So let's take loose the 13. Should be 13. Maybe somebody's changed it. Well, we got plenty of space in here, but I just realized there's that little ground or a wiring harness holder. Let's look at the other one. So yeah, there's this little thing right here. You can see that. There's a little thing holding the wiring harness on, a little 8mm, it looks like. Got to get that one off, and then the wiring harness can come away, and then it should come right out. Alright, well, I got everything loose. Got the wiring harness disconnected. See how easy this thing comes out of here. Now that, I think, is much easier than the other way the guy did it. The air conditioning is still in place, I didn't have to remove that. All I had to do is about 10 bolts to remove all this stuff here. Alternator's out. Do I need to show you guys how to put it back in? I'm not gonna. I'll let you guys figure that out. I think once you get it out, that you won't have any trouble getting it back in. And let's look for a thumbnail here. What are we gonna do? Like that? I don't know. Anyway, that's it for that. I'll talk to you guys in the next video. Hopefully that helps you out. I think service position, one thing not to forget is don't forget, and let me tell you, I just uploaded another video on how to fix this. If you forget to put this thing back on, I ended up removing the whole thing because it gives you a lot more access. So it's just a ball and socket, okay, and it hooks in here, and then this is a little, this little thing opens and closes and just snaps in place and keeps the ball and socket in there. And to get this loose, if you happen to forget, I'll put this in this video too, if you happen to forget to hook this back up, which you could do real easily, you take off the lower plastic piece on the bottom, you reach up from the bottom with your arm, and you reach out. There's a little shelf right here. You see that? Here's a little shelf. You reach above that shelf and you'll feel this ball, okay? And then what you do is you make a little piece of aluminum or something. What I did is I just took a piece of scrap aluminum, I cut a groove in it, I reached it in there, hooked it on there, pulled it, opened the hood. So that's how you get the hood back open. Otherwise, it is really hard. I don't know any other way you can get that hood back open if you shut it. They really didn't design it very well for that. Well, I got a lot of pet peeves on VW's design. I could go on and on and on, believe me. Why the hell did they put that down there? I have no idea. But what I've got to do now is on mine, I've got an issue with my flapper. So I figured getting this out of the way is so much easier. I'm just going to remove this. I've already got the middle one out. See, the one that you can't reach from the other place is, oh God, where is it? It's on the bottom, I guess. This tube has a bolt down the other, right behind the air conditioner, and it's really hard to get in there and get that one loose. So it's much easier to pull it out in service mode, because if you have it in or service position, if you don't have it in service position, it's really hard to get this hose out. It's really hard. So if you just do a partial, like if I just did that, where I just leave it on the jack, kind of pull this away, there's all this room, gives you all that room. VW made it that way on purpose. So anyway, it's part of their service thing. It's called service position or service service mode. I don't know. It's in their manual. A guy sent me a copy of the page, so that's when I started to look into it, and that's what I found out, is that a lot of the repairs you do in service position because it's much easier to get in there. All right, talk to you guys in the next video. Keep going on. Talk to you next one. Please like, share, and subscribe. Let's hopefully this helps you out. Talk to you next one.